We are joined by 7-time late model champion down at the action track of the East, Seekonk Speedway, the one and only Gerry DeGasparre Jr. Gerry and the tongue twisters roll on for me here tonight. Welcome to the show. How are you tonight?
Hey, Miles. Thanks for having me on.
Pleasure to have you. So, Darryl Church joins us in studio, so I don't know any off-the-cuff questions he might get in, but jump right into things. And, of course, my first question I like to ask all of our guests is, how did you get the racing bug?
Before we get started, I just want to say that was a great piece with Darryl. I've been listening, obviously, and that was a great story and a great piece. So kudos to him and Judy for that.
Thank you.
As far as racing, I've been going since I was a kid. My father took me as a kid. My mother at the time worked for San Angelo Buick, so I grew up as a kid, obviously watching Eddie San Angelo and Vinny Anarumo, and, been going there since I was 7 or 8 years old.
7-time late model champion. Which one of those championships is still your favorite to this day?
The first. Definitely the first. Because we didn't see it coming. It was just, we didn't know what to expect. Everything was new to us at the time, and the pure excitement when I won the championship and I pulled up and seeing my father wearing a championship shirt is just a memory I'll have embedded in my brain forever.
So this season has kind of been a fun one for you. I don't think I've seen anybody smile as much as you at the track. Running for Marcoux Motorsports Saturday nights in the number 18. Talk to us about 2024 so far.
So originally I wasn't racing at all. I was done. We were just going to pull back and figure out a plan going forward, and I had no intentions of racing. And then Mike reached out to me about something I had for sale on Marketplace, and I met him down at Home Depot in South Attleboro, and we started talking. And he's like, "Hey, my kid got a job working for Roush, which is where Caleb is now." He says, "And we got sponsors, so are you interested in running a few races? Keep the sponsors out there and keep them promoted." So I said, "Yeah, what do you want to do?" He says, "Well, let's do the Triple Crown races." So originally we were going to do 3 races, but then I guess in order to be eligible, you got to do 6 races. So then we just started playing week by week, and, we are where we are today, other than we missed the first few weeks, but we've been here every week since, and I'm going to tell you, Miles, they are just, Mike, Tammy, I couldn't have been put in a better situation if I had planned it out. They are just unbelievable people to work with and race for.
And not to mention, you found victory lane again this year for the first time in a long time, I believe, down there on a Saturday night. So talk to us about the win you had earlier this season.
Well, yeah, I hadn't won in a streeter, I think, since my last year in the street stocks, which was really going to show my age now, which was 1998, which was pretty cool because Nick Tito told me now every year since 1994 that I've raced, I've had a win every year. So that's pretty cool. But, when I teamed up with Mike and Tammy and Caleb, we had a goal. We set some goals like, let's go out and be competitive and find speed and then get a top 10 and let's shoot for a top 5 and, let's shoot for a win. But the win came in our 3rd or 4th week. So it just, like right off the hit, we won. And then we followed it up with back-to-back top 5 finishes. And, it's just, it clicked right away for us. And we struggled, don't get me wrong, and we still do because I'm nowhere near as good in these cars as I need to be. But to win that soon out of the gate was just awesome.
As your career's grown, Gerry, what do you think was the hardest thing to master, the hardest thing that it took to really get the racecraft down to what you wanted it to be?
Patience. Don't forget, I started a long time ago, too, so people forget that we race with as many cars now as we used to send home back in the day. When I started in the streeters, there was 120 of us every week. They only took 48 cars. We had 2 features, 24 cars in each feature, and the only time they threw a yellow is if you're on fire or on your roof. And then when I went to the late models, there was 40 late models every single week. So you had to be patient, but as my father always taught me, patiently aggressive. So you had to find the fine line. And
hey, Gerry, hi, this is...
Oh, go ahead, Gerry. Go ahead.
Nope, go ahead. I'm good.
Gerry, hi, this is Jim. I just wanted to So it's nice to have you here with us tonight. And the thing I always like to talk about is the family. I first met your dad about 10 years ago where he was working. I saw the race car in the corner of the shop. And I started chatting with him. And I'm an adjuster. And your dad and I started kind of striking up this friendship. And so then I would chat with your dad right before he'd spot for you. And one of the stories he told me, I asked him, when you started racing, maybe I got the story a little wrong, but I guess you started in the street stocks, and then he saw you, and he's like, look, he wanted you in something safe, and if we're going to do this, we're going to do this right. Is that probably correct?
So you got it.
Yeah.
I mean, to a T. So what happened was I started it with a bunch of friends of mine.
Yep.
And we were horrific. And he's like, I cannot take watching you no more. He says, I just can't take this anymore. So we got together, and then he had two rules my whole life.
Yeah.
For racing.
Yeah.
You're going to be safe, and you're not going to cheat.
Yeah.
Those are his two rules. And he believed in both of them from now to eternity, and especially the safety and the cheating was the top of his line. And he was always a believer, like, listen, you get caught cheating, the only thing you have your whole life is your last name.
Yeah.
And the last thing you want to be tagged is a cheater.
Well, I got to tell you, I mean, I enjoyed a lot of conversations with your dad before you know, he'd come out to spot for you before your heat race and then your feature. And then I would show up a little bit early. I was probably the guy poking through the fence, talking to your dad when he had a moment, when you guys were getting ready.
I remember.
Yeah. You know, he gave you a nice T-shirt and stuff. And, and your dad would always want to know about my dad's Galaxy. I guess your dad had a Galaxy back in the day. So I'd tell him stories what my dad did to it over the winter, and then he would, I'd always ask questions about the race car. What'd you guys do over the winter and things like that. So to me, that's the what I love about racing is the family aspect. And when your dad told me, like you said, he wanted you safe. And I think I was there at the track then. I think you had your 20th anniversary of racing there. And, they announced it, and I was chatting with your dad, and that's when he told me the story. I said, well, how did you start? Yep. And all that stuff. And but you seem to be, you're not running the late model this year. You're just running in the Sportsman. Are you full-time, or is that just for a friend kind of filling in?
So we started off with just going to do a few races.
Yeah.
And then we started just having a blast. So we said, you know what, we'll run the year through. Just figured, we'll race every week. And then I'm very fortunate. Mike and Tammy asked me if I wanted to drive it again next year for Maxwell Motorsports. And that's a family business. That's Mike, Tammy, and his son Caleb. And, that's a close family. And there's nothing that means more to me than family. And first and foremost, I would be nothing in motorsports racing without my father.
Well, I know. I mean, talk with your dad. And the other thing he was very proud of, because I would talk with your dad, and your wife and your daughter would be sitting over there in 3.
Yep.
And he was also excited about talking about your daughter playing softball. He goes, I don't know if I have more fun here or more fun going to watch my granddaughter play softball. So he was a very family guy.
I had my father with, my wife and my daughter over there on the front stretch. And my mom, before she passed away, had her huge crowd over there with Doreen and Lee and everybody in turns 3 and 4. And we've always been an extremely tight family. And families race together. It's not just a bumper sticker. It's the truth.
It really is. And I'm sorry, I was down there with my neighbor, too, one night. And his son, a young son at the time, and I went over, and your dad says, well, you hold on. I want to get him a picture in here of my son in Victory Lane. He was like 9 at the time. And not only that, I saw your dad a little while longer. I was still covering the Rhode Island area, and he gave me a nice blown-up picture to give to my neighbor's son. So that's the type of guy, He didn't owe me that, but he goes, come on, I want to get the kid in there. He was all excited to see the race car. And I'm like, I kind of know the guy. And it kind of made me feel like a big shot. So come on, we'll walk over just to say hi and congratulate you. And you and your dad, after you did all your sponsor photos, brought him in for a photo. I actually still have it. I have it on my phone. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it was awesome what you and your dad did too. Thank you.
He lived Decom Speedway for years. I mean, he funded before we had sponsors and people, like you guys know, and like Daryl's in there. The cost is just astronomical to run and be competitive. And for years before we had sponsors, my old man paid all the bills, and I mean every bill, and we lacked for nothing. So you know what? I'm the first one to tell you that without my father, I never would have accomplished anything in motorsports. Nothing. But the cool thing is, he is the only 7-time late model championship car owner. No one else can say that either.
Very cool.
He's the only one to be a 7-time owner.
And that's quite a
history. I take a lot
history.
of pride in that. Yeah, I take a lot of pride in that.
Jerry, it seems like, I just want to back up a quick step. It seems like you broke some news here on Miles on Motorsports tonight that you're running in 2025?
Yeah, I did. You guys kind of walked me into that now that I think about it, huh?
Wow.
Did you slip with that one,
Yeah,
Jerry?
they asked me if I'd like to return, and I'd be an idiot not to. I mean, it's a great car. They're great people to drive for, but more importantly, we have so much fun. Like, people don't understand, like, how much fun we have, because we have zero expectations upon ourselves.
Absolutely.
We go out there every week to try to do the best we can, and, like, we've accomplished everything, just about everything. Like, we set some goals that we knew we'd really have to really be a long strive to achieve them, but, like, we were, like, be competitive, run up front, top 10, top 5, win, top 10 for the year, which we're going to accomplish even after missing a few weeks. But the biggest one we set and we just missed was making a chase. If it had been a normal year where they took 8, we would have been in. Yeah, but they narrowed it down to 6 this year, and we missed out. But we missed a few weeks. So, listen, this division's so tough and competitive that you can't miss, because someone's going to pounce all over you if you miss.
Absolutely. So we didn't think we'd have, well, we actually knew we'd have a driver in studio here tonight, but Paul's out. That was a late hit. But we do have a driver in here, so it's now the time for the driver to ask another driver a question.
Wow,
my buddy Darryl.
I'd just like to say, Jerry, having you back at the track is great. I mean, people can walk up to you and ask you so many questions and about the track, about how do you do this, how do you do that, and you're always there to give a helping hand to everybody and anybody. I appreciate you coming back.
Thank you. And you know what's funny, Darryl, is, and I tell a story, and I told to my daughter not that long ago too. We're just talking one night, and I said, racing's funny. I said, when you start off, everybody wants to know you. And then when you get good and you start winning, everybody and their mother wants to know you. And then when you win too much,
they don't want to know you.
And they don't want to know you. And we were to that point, and then we kind of just stepped aside a little bit. And when we came back, the reception was incredible. The amount of people that reached out, I couldn't even put a number on it. And if you go back and the night I won my Victory Lane speech, I actually thanked everybody. I've won a lot of races at that place, and I've never heard the cheers as loud as they were that night. And that made me feel pretty freaking cool, I'm not going to lie to you. It was an emotional night to begin with. It was the first time I won since my mom passed away. The first time I ever won without my dad being a car owner. And it was the first win for Marco Motorsports. I mean, all those things are awesome, and they're all, like, top of the memories for me. And then I heard the cheers, and I was like, wow, man, that's really different from what I'm used to.
Yep.
Because people, and I'll call it the Dave Dolan syndrome. And I actually learned it from Teddy Christopher, when I used to spot the Ted and stuff, and people hated him, and he used to be like, enjoy it. He said, suck it up. He says, that means they're paying attention to you.
It sounds just like him.
Yeah.
And now I see I knew what they did to me, and I see what they do to David, and I just sit back and, at first it used to bother, like, my wife, and my daughter was mortified about it. She's like, Daddy, they don't like you. And now we just sit back and laugh about it. But, and like Darryl said, the amount of people, I kind of pride myself on being a people person. I really do. And I try to be a historian of the track, because people don't realize that how long I've been there, but they also better realize that if Seekonk Speedway goes somewhere else, we got nowhere in our backyard to race anymore.
Nope.
And that's what people don't realize, and that's why I kind of tell people, listen, if you got a problem, take it to them directly. No social media. Shit like that's going to kill racetracks. You cannot have that. We're fortunate that we still have that in our backyard. Sometimes I think people take it for granted. Yep. I really do.
Absolutely. I certainly agree with that. So tonight's kind of an extended Seekonk Speedway roundup. Basically, this whole show is quickly, and Jerry, we might keep you for after the break here, and we could talk a little bit more about things. But Top 10 for you this past week, and obviously, Daryl, same thing, top 10 for you.
Yep.
Quickly, why don't you touch upon the weekend that was, and then I'll let Daryl touch upon his weekend, and then I'll go into a break and do the roundup, and we'll come back, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more.
Absolutely. Sounds good. What do you want to know about this weekend?
Yeah, talk to us about the finish out there on Saturday night.
We started in the back because we cut a tire in the heat race, so we started 16th, I think, this week. And we patiently just kind of made our way up through, and we're 7th, 8th. We're 8th, and we were actually catching 5, 6, and 7, but we were just too far back. And it was just an incident-free 25-lap feature for us, and, nothing special, just a decent race. We learned a lot of what to do and what not to do because we're still trying things. And, it was just another good night for us.
And how about you, Daryl?
We went out on our first practice. The truck was tight. Then we loosened it up for the second practice. It was a little bit better. And then we did a couple other things, and we went out in the heat race. It was better, but it kept tightening up. And then we went out for the feature, and I started on the pole for the feature, and by lap 8, it just got too tight in the middle of the corner, and I was pushing up. And we ended up with a good 7th place finish. It's a better finish than we've had lately.
Excellent.
But I got to say though, my teammate Nick Wood winning his first race, it was great.
Yeah, that video too is up on the YouTube channel for Seekonk Speedway, and I would say I caught it on the Facebook page today and the Instagram page, and Kevin and I had some fun calling that race.
Yeah.
That was for sure. That we had a lot of fun on that one. So, hey, one further quick question to wrap up this portion of the interview because it goes on our YouTube channel as well. Gerry, anybody you want to thank out there? Sponsors, family, friends?
Absolutely. First of all, I got to thank Mike, Tammy, and Caleb for just allowing me to drive their car week in and week out. It's just awesome. It's so much fun. We got some really great sponsors, Paul Davis Restoration, Next Level Restoration, Doug Reinhold Insurance, Jerry's General Maintenance. That pretty much wraps it up for us, but we got some great people. And then I just want to give a quick shout-out to the guys. Every week it's Mike, Tammy, Bobby, Frank, Caleb when he's here, Bryce and Kenzie, and I got to thank my teammate at the racetrack for everything he does, and that's Corey Fanning. Corey and Scott have been like family for me for 20 years. I got him back to Seekonk this year, so he's running a streeter again. They pit next to us every week, and they make racing a lot more enjoyable for us.
Excellent. So our In the Turn interview sponsored by Seekonk Speedway there this week.